Howdy carnivores. Hey, today's video is going to be about how to start carnivore. If you're new to carnivore and new to ketogenic diets and new to ketovore, this is my thoughts on how you should get started, the things that I wish I would have done different, and the things that I've learned. And so I just thought I'd put that in a video. New subscriber, a new friend of mine, Mark from Canada. He had messaged me asking me for my advice on how to get going, so I decided I'd make a video on that and see if we can't help Mark out and anybody else that has the same questions that we all did when we started. So my thoughts on what I would do now, these isn't necessarily what I did, but I believe it would have helped me and streamlined things, would be starting with, I would definitely jump in with both feet. I would, I'd actually gone to keto first before I'd found carnivore. And one thing that I don't like about keto is that there's a lot of mixed messages, I think, in keto, because there's a lot of clean keto help out there, but then there's also a lot of kind of liberal keto where they have a lot of leeway on artificial sweeteners and processed keto products. And keto got so popular that that the commercialized industries got into it and started making using the keto tag on everything. It was a hot button, hot selling thing, I guess, for them. So all of a sudden there's a lot of processed foods out there that have the keto name on it, and I know I fell into that trap a little bit, and I know for certain it didn't, it did way more harm than good. I think that there might be a place for a little bit more leeway on keto, but I think it's after you reach your goals, after you break through that wall, after you conquer the carb cravings and the old habits and the addictions. I think maybe cautiously you could add a few things in here and there and start opening up your diet a little bit. But I think that at first, especially, and until you get fat adapt, and we'll go over what that means later, but until you get your feet really set into the new regimen, into your new lifestyle, I think that it's best just to absolutely simplify it as much as possible and break any behavioral tendencies and habits that you had, and try to create as much separation between your old habits, your old addictions, your old go-tos. If you're using sugar and eating and those habits to medicate, self-medicate stress and anxiety and depression and just loneliness or anything that you're going through, I think it's absolutely best to not even dip a toe into those old behavioral patterns. And so I don't think it's actually a good thing to try to make a keto version of an old favorite junk food, because I think there's still, just the ritual of going to that still stimulates, a certain part of that habit, a certain part of that mindset. And it's still, and when you're feeding into that, even into the ritual, even in, I think it's still feeding into something bad that's going to grab a hold of you and that's going to pull you back in to your old habits and to your old, your old food that was, absolutely no upside to that, those things that were destructive to you. So my advice would be to let this be completely new and completely different, and let that be a good thing. It'll be difficult at first, but the beauty about carnivore is that It's not like a restrictive diet. It's not like a calorie restrictive diet where it starts off bad and it doesn't get better, you know, where you just start off and you wake up every morning and you go, God, I hope I don't fall off the wagon today. I hope I don't cave today. I hope I can keep it going. Where you go to bed hungry, you wake up hungry. You dream about food, all those things, because you're still, you know, you're basically still keeping all those addictions alive, and all those, you know, you're still on the, even on a calorie restricted diet, you're still on the insulin roller coaster, you know, so those things are constantly in your head, you know, and it just weighs on you. It just keeps weighing on you until it beats you down, and finally you break, you know, because nobody can endure that for your whole life. You just can't, not unless something gets better. And that is why Carnivore for me has been absolutely amazing, because I don't wake up and pray that I don't fall off the wagon. I don't go to bed hungry. I don't go to bed wishing I had pizza or soda or any of those old things that, you know, had me in bondage. I don't think about them. I don't care. They don't pop into my head. I'm not worried when I wake up in the morning. Now when I wake up in the morning, I'm excited to see how much progress I'm going to have today. I'm excited to see how much stronger I got today. I'm excited to see how much more endurance I have today. I'm excited to see how much better my mind works today. I'm excited to see how much weight I may or may not have lost. That's something we'll get into too on keto or carnivore, that's a bit different. But I'm excited for the day. I'm not weighed down by, you know, hunger and cravings, and is this the day that I'm not going to be able to take it anymore? You know, that's gone, and that's why carnivore works. So my first point is jump in with both feet 100%. Now, what does that look like? In my opinion is, if you can, I don't know what your particular situation looks like, but if you can, you go through the house and you get rid of everything. You just, anything that's processed, anything that has added sugar in it, anything that has flour or grain or wheat or anything that is not an animal product, you chuck it. It's just, you get rid of it. You know, some people give it to family and friends. I'd throw it in the garbage, even if your family wants it or thinks that they can use it. I think it's poison, and I no longer help poison my relatives. I throw it in the garbage. So I would toss everything you can. Now, I understand that you might be in a situation where, you know, you have a family, you have kids, you have a wife, you have a brother, you know, a mother, a father, whatever your living situation is, roommates, whatever, and maybe you can't do that because maybe they're still gonna live that old lifestyle. And if that's the case, I would definitely sit down with them and tell them, you know, hey, I understand you don't have a problem with this, or this is how you want to eat, but, you know, this lifestyle is keeping me from feeling good. It's robbing my quality of life. It's shortening my life. It's killing me, and it's serious enough that I have to take serious measures. And so, whatever agreement that you can come up with them, you know, maybe you have your own cabinet, maybe you have your own part of the fridge, maybe you get a mini fridge that's just your fridge, so you don't even have to get into that fridge. Maybe you have your own area where you can cook. Whatever it is that you can work out to make it as separated as possible, so that you can stay on track, and so that you can focus on what you're doing, and you let them know that you're not going out to eat, you know, you're not going to partake in eating these things anymore. You know, you might go out with them, but you're going to order your way, and you're not going to take any crap about it. If this is the way it is, and you're 100% serious, and there's no change in your mind, you're hitting this at 110%. And then the reason why I think that's important at the start is because you have to know that right now, when you're making these decisions, that's going to be as mentally and as physically, it's going to be the strongest point you're going to be at for a while to make those decisions. And the structure that you set up at the beginning is what you're going to have to lean on and rely on for a little while to get through the toughest parts of it. Now, once you get through the toughest parts of it, then it's going to get better. It's going to become easier and easier, and you're going to feel better, and you're going to be able to feed off of how much better you feel. But it's not going to happen instantly. It's going to happen quicker than you might think, but it's not going to be instant. So there's going to be, you know, a few days there, and maybe even a few weeks there, where it's going to wear on you still, and you're going to maybe have your resolve tested, and you know, you're going to really need to rely on your setup. And that brings me to point number 2, is you need to have a plan. At least have a 2-week plan. Try to stay 2 weeks ahead of yourself, in my opinion. You know, that means know what go-to meals you're going to have. Know what your grocery list is going to look like. Don't run out of food. You know, if cooking and preparing things is a struggle for you, then take a day and at least meal prep some bacon, maybe some burger patties, you know, just some things to get you through it. And because, you know, you don't want to be caught off guard by a real bad craving, or maybe, you know, maybe you get tired and beat down, and maybe the day was rough on you, maybe you're just super tired. That was a big one for me, where the day would load up on you, you get real tired, and you just almost couldn't bring yourself to go cook something because you felt low on energy and you're tired, and the cravings were beating you up, and anxiety was hitting you, and depression was hitting you, and you almost just couldn't even cook, you know. So what I suggest you do is make it as absolutely effortless and as mindless as you can. You have the food in your fridge, you have a game plan, so that when your mind starts to fight you and the cravings are coming and those old habits are coming in hard, you have like an emergency protocol that you've already mapped out in your head what you're going to do. When I'm being tested, when it's bad, when I can't do anything, I'm going to that fridge and I'm getting, you know, maybe you have boiled eggs and bacon already prepared. I'm eating boiled eggs and bacon until this goes away, you know. And you just hit it. You just have an emergency protocol, and you have a system already pre-mapped out in at least 2 weeks in advance. And then you just make everything as easy as you can. Simplify everything. This isn't going to be necessarily about enjoying everything. You know, I think you personally will. If you like bacon, if you like steak, if you like burgers, I think you'll like it, you know. And especially when you're hungry, right? You're going to be hungry. It's always going to taste good enough, you know, and to great, you know. Now I love it. I love everything I eat now. But on certain days when you're just wanting pizza or a soda or whatever your old vice was, your old hang up, when you're wanting that, you know, the bacon's not going to taste that great. But what I can tell you is, if you eat it and you keep following that, those cravings for whatever your hang up was will go away as you start eating that food. Even though it's not going to be what you're craving, but you just eat it anyways. And you know that that's your emergency protocol, and you just keep doing it, and those cravings will go away, and they'll get better. You know, it'll get easier and easier and easier to make those cravings go away, and eventually they will just stop. So what should you eat? In my opinion, if I had it to do over again, I would do the BBB&E. That's what I'm doing now. That's what has made this so incredibly easy. And if you don't know what the BBB&E is, it's beef, bacon, butter, eggs, and salt. And that's all that you eat. And so you can make, you know, whatever you want there. That actually gives you, you know, a fair amount. If you're on my Instagram or whatever, you see what I eat at a pretty regular basis. I have the same protocol. I eat bacon and eggs on certain days. I'll eat steak and eggs on certain days. Certain days I'll eat bacon, steak, and eggs on certain days. But I always also make a chuck roast with bone broth, which is beef bone broth, so that's part of the beef category. And I take Kettle and Fire. Kettle and Fire bone broth is the best. It's the cleanest. It's grass-fed, grass-finish, and they boil it or simmer it a long time, and there's a lot of real health benefits to that. Real clean. And Kettle and Fire bone broth was kind of expensive. They used to be 16 ounces, and where I'm from, they're about $7 US. But now, thank the Lord, they came out with a more affordable one, and it's 32 ounces for $4.99 where I'm at. So that's the best bone broth that I've found, beef bone broth. And so I use that. I always keep, 6 or 8 of those containers on hand. And I love to go to Costco, and I get their chuck roast. They usually come in a 6 to 7 pound pack, and I cook it 7 pounds at a time in a slow cooker. I like to sear it up. I use ghee. If you don't know what ghee is, it's clarified butter. It's basically butter that they removed the dairy proteins, dairy particles, proteins out of, and it's basically just a butter oil is what it is, and so it has a higher smoke point, which means it doesn't burn as easy as butter does. Butter I think burns at 400 degrees, and you can get ghee, or just ghee's like an olive oil or avocado oil or whatever. I think it's got a smoke point around 500 or 600 degrees or whatever it is. But anyways, I use that. I sear it in ghee butter, my chuck roast in ghee butter. I sear it on all sides, put it in the slow cooker. I cover it in the Kettle and Fire beef bone broth, and I slow cook it for about 9 hours, and add salt to it, of course, but and that's another thing, I usually use Celtic salt or pink Himalayan salt, and don't use table salt. It's got those aluminums in it, and it's been, I forget what they call it, iodized or whatever, but it's not good for you. The table salt, it's all fine and dried out, but the pink Himalayan salt and the Celtic salt's real good for you. And I just use that, and that'll that'll keep me for 2-3 days just on that one roast alone, and I love that. And you can do a lot of things there. I mean, there's all sorts of ribs and bacon and all that stuff that you can have. But I know that it's going to feel real restrictive when you're first starting, but if you stay on that for just even, it's going to get better after probably a week, but for some people it's 2.5 weeks. But even if it takes you 3 weeks to get through the worst of it, you just gotta white knuckle it, hold on, have your emergency protocols, get through it, and when you break through that, it's going to start getting easier. But the great part is when it starts getting addictive, and when it starts getting addictive is when you wake up and you feel amazing, when you just start feeling better. The inflammation goes away, the brain fog goes away. If you suffer from anxiety and depression, it starts to lift. Your mind works better. You start sleeping better. You just feel more energetic. You have a way calmer, more steady, longer endurance, throughout the day. You don't have the crashes. You're not as irritable. You're not as you don't get shook up as easy. You don't, people can throw things at you, the day can, throw a curveball at you, and it's just easier to absorb it and to, shake things off. When that starts happening and you start feeling that feeling is addictive. And then you couple that with getting healthier, getting stronger, losing the weight, feeling better, looking better, your mind's, that's when it starts getting good, and that's when you really start picking up some steam, and you're like, man, I've got to stay on this. And you will get to a point where, you're like, I don't want to go back, I got to keep this going. I don't ever want to feel like that old me, And so that's what I would do, and that's how I would start. Now, you asked about the keto flu. For me, I don't know. I was in such bad shape, and I was in such a bad place at the time that, I don't know that there's a difference in misery, to be honest with you. there wasn't a bad that felt any worse than the bad I already felt. So I don't know. I didn't really feel a keto flu. I knew that, you know, for me it was about 8 or 9 days before I started feeling great. I mean, what a difference it made. And finally, by not being in the liberal keto zone, eating, you know, commercialized processed keto products and things, yeah, I finally got completely away from all the soda cravings, the carb cravings, and it became easy, you know. And now, like I said, I never have to, you know, I never have to worry. I never have a doubt in my mind that, you know, today might be the day I fail or fall off the wagon. It's just not even a thought, because I know it's almost impossible for me to fall off the wagon now, because I feel so good, and I was so close to death before that. Yeah, I mean, there's no going back to that hell, you know. And the next thing I would say is take electrolytes. That was one of the biggest mistakes that I made, was I wasn't taking electrolytes. When I started taking electrolytes, it really, that was the final straw for my carb cravings and sugar cravings. When I started taking electrolytes every day, yeah, it was game over for the old addiction and old cravings. So I take Dr. Berg's electrolyte formula. The reason why I take it is I do believe that we need, every man, woman on this planet needs more like 4,700 milligrams of potassium every day. And his electrolyte formula has 1,000 milligrams of potassium per scoop. And so on average, I drink 4 scoops of that every day. I live out in the country on well water, and we have a lot of minerals in our soil here and in our well water here. And so I try to get at least 4 scoops of his electrolyte powder in every day, and I get a lot of energy out of that, and I feel great. And yeah, it gives me energy, makes me feel good. My brain works better, just quicker mind and everything. Less, you know, no brain fog anyways, but that was a game changer for me. So I highly, highly recommend, if there was one supplement you were going to take, that it be electrolytes for sure. Now the things, if you're running into complications and it continues to be a struggle, or if you're fighting hunger, you're not getting enough fat, you're not taking your electrolytes, and you need more water. And you're going to need that too, because when you go into ketosis and you start getting away from the carbs and the processed stuff, you are going to start moving some fluid, and that fluid's going to come off you, and if you're not careful, you're going to start getting some cramps, some leg cramps and stuff. But you make sure you're drinking enough water, enough electrolytes, and that'll definitely get you through the cramp period. And then also for me, people love to talk about, you know, what it does to your bathroom regimen. And so sometimes it can plug you up, sometimes it can make you more regular, but that's, you know, you need time for your gut microbiome to reculture and reconstitute and get used to animal fats and animal products, and get used to processing it and everything. And so that can be, you know, a little back and forth there. But for me, electrolytes helped stabilize that real quick. So definitely stay on that, and then eat fat. If there's ever any doubt if you're getting enough fat, you'll know if you've had too much fat, because it'll make you real regular. You'll be running to the outhouse in a hurry. So try to eat to as much fat as you can take in at first. And also, do not worry about calories, do not worry about macros. Whenever you're hungry, eat. Just do not, at least for the first 6 weeks in my opinion, do not ever be hungry. If you're hungry, eat. Eat your eat your food. Make a regimen, have your food ready, have your meals, have your groceries, and then eat that food anytime you're hungry. You do not need to be going through this big change and also fighting hunger. And that's one of the beautiful strengths of carnivore, is you do not have to be hungry ever. Might not be what you want at the time, but you can be full all the time, and you don't have to be hungry. So if you're hungry, eat. Do not worry about you know, calories or anything stupid like that. Just eat as much as your heart desires whenever you want. And you know, you might even overeat. You might even make yourself a little bit sick. But hey, you've done that before the way you're eating now, right? So at first, eat whatever you want. And then a beautiful thing's going to happen is that cholesterol and that saturated animal fat is going to help your hormones a great deal, and also keeping your insulin level low is going to help your insulin levels low is going to help your hormones regulate and balance. And when that happens, you're going to get leptin sensitivity back, if you've lost it, that is, like I had. And when you get leptin sensitivity back, you're going to know when you're full, and you're going to know when you're hungry. Now, a great revelation that came to me that I had to figure out because it was such a surreal sensation was when leptin was kicking in and I wasn't hungry and nothing sounded appetizing, and I didn't want to eat, but my stomach was empty. That was quite the revelation, because that had never happened to me before, where I was satiated and not hungry but had an empty stomach. And so for a while there I had to get through that, because it was kind of tripping out my brain there for a minute, because I had the sensation of an empty stomach, but also leptin was telling me that I was satiated and full. So that's when whenever that happened for a while there, I just had to drink water, and the sensation of water being in my stomach made the empty stomach feeling go away, and we were fine. And so at this point, this is when you really just start to learn how to listen to your body, and you need to really pay attention to that. For me, it's a very simple litmus test. You just think about the food that you might eat, and if it sounds appetizing, you're probably hungry and you should eat. If it doesn't sound appetizing, then you're not hungry and you shouldn't eat. If you think of food, your food, and it doesn't sound appetizing, but you're craving pizza or something, you're probably not hungry, you're just having a craving. But if the craving's bad, eat anyways, and that'll stop the craving. And so that's just kind of the protocol that you use. And if you're fighting any kind of energy problems, if you're still crashing your things, definitely increase the fat and increase the electrolytes and increase the amount of water you're drinking. And I think that'll really help you out. And then any questions you have or anything, you can definitely hit me up in the comments, or you can go to the about in my channel page here, and my email address is in there. You can also follow me on Instagram and ask me questions there, or on X, formerly known as Twitter. That's also in my channel information. You can get to all my social media links there, and you can ask me questions, and if they're quick, I'll answer them there. If they're a little more in-depth or require more attention, I'll make a video on it and I'll send you the link. Yeah, so I think that's good for this video. Appreciate you guys' time. I hope this helps somebody, and definitely hope it helps Mark. Shout out to Mark. And yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd sure love it if you could give us a like and subscribe if you're new. I'm new at this, and I'm trying to get a little bit of traction, so I can get people any information that any help that I can give them. I'd like to get out there and kind of get people where they can ask me. So love you guys, and see you next time.